Hello and welcome. My name is Oluwatimile Olamoye. I'm the programs lead for the African Future Summit 2025. I'm thrilled to be your host for this impactful webinar. Before we dive into why we are here, let me walk you through the order of events. Over the next 90 minutes, you will hear from inspiring advocates, educators, leaders, change makers, and global experts. Together, we will explore how to build a resilient education system in Africa. By creating a dynamic and adaptable education system, African youth will be well informed and versatile, equipped with the skills and knowledge to drive progress and innovation. This will empower them to work towards making Africa a great continent, full of opportunities and growth. To kick things off, you will hear from the founder of Primacy Youth Development Initiative, the initiative from which this webinar exudes from. She has something special for all of us. Following that, we'll have a chance to hear from a thought leader and educational reforms that can help shape the future of Africa. Next, we'll transition into our highly anticipated panel. Internationally recognized leaders, consultants, and educators. We address key challenges facing African education systems and practical solutions to overcome these obstacles. And now, for the next exciting segment, we'll dive into our second panel discussion. This session promises to be dynamic and insightful as more renowned experts share their visions and strategies to push forward educational innovation and resilience. Get ready for an engaging, thought-provoking dialogue. Following the panels, we'll open the floor to your questions in an interactive Q&A session, so get your questions ready. Now, I would like to invite Esther Ajudeoni for the opening remark. Esther Ajudeoni is the visionary founder of Primacy Youth Development Initiative and the convener of the African Future Summit 2025 from Lagos, Nigeria, who is changing the narrative for young people across Africa. As the founder of the Primacy Youth Development Initiative and the driving force behind the African Future Summit 2025, Esther is on a mission to inspire and empower the next generation of leaders. Her passion is evident in her strategic birthing of African Youth Mentorship Projects, under which she conceived and brought to life projects like the Stellar Fellowship, the African Youth Mentorship Symposium, and the African Future Summit. And through her strategies, these projects have scaled across these projects have scaled across different 30 African countries, impacting over 2,000 youth directly and over 600 secondary schools indirectly. Esther has worn many hats in the world of youth development. Currently, she serves the social media lead change maker with the UN Foundation's Our Future Agenda initiative. In this office, she contributed to the development of the road to 2,100 learning agenda and was invited to a creative force with the United Nations Foundation for the Research Summit of the Future. She has served as the youth consultant for the world's largest lesson project, Everyone. Her exceptional leadership has earned her a place as one of only 6 people selected globally for the 2024 cohort of Mountaintop International Anglican Fellowship, where she has been recognized as a thought leader and a true visionary. Esther believes in the power of young Africans to build a sustainable future. Her dream is to empower these future change makers, equipping them with the tools they need to reimagine Africans tomorrow. Now, before I bring Esther in, I would like every one of us to tell us the country we are joining from. Let's know where you are joining us from, your name and where you are joining us from in the chat box. Please keep them coming while we await Esther.
Thank you so much, Timmy, for the warm introduction. And I want to say happy African Youth Day to everyone here. This is all about us. This is all about us. This is about the African futures. So I celebrate you all today. And, it gives me so much pleasure. I'm so much passionate about Africa. I always say African youth, African youth, African youth. And why? Because we are the custodian of the future of Africa. And then, not just Africa, but we are the custodian of the future of the world, because Africa has the fastest growing youthful population. So, it's right to say that young Africans are very key players in the development of the world at large. So the development of African youth is the development of the world, because when African youths are well equipped to take on solutions to birth innovative ideas, then we would have a whole lot of solutions across the world to the various global challenges. So I celebrate you all once again, dear African youth. You are phenomenal and you are amazing. And the world is waiting and looking forward to your emergence. So I'm going to charge you to wake up and begin to take that action. Today we are here to celebrate the African Youth Day, and then we are looking at building resilient educational system for the 21st century. And then one thing that at the core for me of education is mentorship. Without mentorship, education is incomplete because it's important that young people have guidance and are able to be led by people who have gone ahead of us, who have passed through the phases that we are looking to go through. It's important for us to have them hold our hands and take us along the journey. So education is very, very key, and mentorship is key to education. And then so the African Futures Summit is actually a program under the African Youth Mentorship Project, which is aimed at mentoring young Africans. We understand and we see that there is a great urgency in the need to upskill African youths, to be able to access the jobs, in the market, and also to meet the demands of the job market. Because the truth is, we all go to schools, but we'll find out that most of the times the skills we learn in school is actually not enough to land us those jobs, to land us financial opportunities. And then you see a situation whereby a young person finishes, goes through the university, gets all the formal education, and then you are back home, like you are back at square one after graduation, thinking about, so what's the next step for me? You are looking for jobs, but you can't land jobs because you see situations whereby you see a job opportunity and they said the requirement is 3 years experience for an entry level role, but because you do not have that experience, you are not able to access it. So education is very, very important. And if we must grow as Africans, we must begin to reimagine and restructure our educational system. Yes. So thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to drop it here because the next speaker is going to speak in depth on this theme, so I don't want to go too deep into that. So thank you so much. While you are here, I want you to follow through. I want you to ask your questions because right now we are reminding the future of Africa. We are not looking, and sitting and looking forward to our leaders doing that for us. We young people who are the custodians of the future, we are reimagining the future right now, and we are doing that through this platform. And also the African Future Summit 2025, which is coming up next year in June. So we are going to share more about that after the whole session. So welcome once again and enjoy this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Hester. Thank you very much. That was very, very incredible. And thank you for the comprehensive welcome remark. It is inspiring to see the vision and dedication behind all this we've laid out. And the next section we have now is the icebreaker question. But before we dive into that, I would like to ask your thoughts on this question. What does education for the 21st century mean to you? Please feel free to share your ideas in the chat. Please. Let's see, what does education for the 21st century mean to you? Let's see. Education for the 21st century, what does it mean to you? Wilfred said it should incorporate technology. Okay, Miriam, please, you have to use the chat box. Let's keep it coming. Elvis said critical thinking and problem solving. Definitely. Olu Cotton said innovative ways of teaching using technology. Yes. James said it's the foundation to either build or break Africa. It's a transformational process for Negri Bro. Education for the 21st century is more about leveraging the advances of tech to make lives profoundly better. Thank you, Kiprono, for that. John said it can simply mean preparing learners with the skills, knowledge, and attitude needed to thrive in a fast-paced, intercontinental, and technology-driven world. It goes beyond traditional methods of rote learning and memorization, focusing on critical thinking, creativity, adaptability, and collaboration. Thank you very much, John, for that well-detailed definition. Miriam is saying education for the 21st century should be the one that trains young people to be problem solver in all spaces. Nadia says, education to me and what it should mean is empowering and transferring the knowledge from past and applying the trends of the present to get a desirable future. Thank you all for your responses, and now we are about to find out if you are right. Well, I believe education is not just about acquiring knowledge, but, fostering critical thinking, like some of you had mentioned, creativity, and the ability to adapt to an ever-changing world. It is about empowering individuals to reach their full potential and also contribute meaningfully to the society. With that in mind, I have with me here Itunoluwa Isaac Bamidele, a distinguished academia and non-profit leader with extensive experience in the education field. Locally and globally, he has made significant contributions to the academic and non-profit sector through his relentless interventions, affiliations, dedication, and passion for making a difference. In addition to his academic achievements, Itunoluwa is a prominent leader in the education non-profit sector. He has demonstrated remarkable skills in strategizing, organizing, and managing non-profit initiatives. He is the founder and CEO of Lead to School Nigeria, a non-profit organization that provides skills, educational support, and interventions to every child, most especially in low-income communities of Nigeria and Africa. Through his visionary leadership, he has successfully implemented impactful programs and projects that have positively impacted hundreds of thousands of low-income communities, students across states in Nigeria and still counting. He actively engages in impact initiatives aimed at addressing schools' dropout rates and illiteracy indexes and uplifting marginalized communities through quality education. Let's welcome Itunoluwa with a warm virtual applause. Itunoluwa, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Timileyin, for such awesome moderation. That was perfect. Thank you for all that you do. Hello, Esther. These are beautiful faces I'm seeing on the screen. And if you can turn on your video, that would be nice. It would be nice to see who is at the end of the camera. It's been an absolute amazing pleasure being here to share. Please confirm you can hear me loud and clear. All right. Thank you, Ayomide, for the thumbs up. Yeah, thank you, everyone. So it's a pleasure being here again to deliberate. These are topics that they're always very dear to my heart. And thank you, Esther, for having me. Thank you for all that you do as well for the young people. As a young person at the heart of the African, emergence, I think it's a lot. At the heart of the work as well. So it's really, really, it boils down to passion to do this work. Like one of my mentors would say, it's almost a thankless work, but then we still keep at it and still keep doing it. Thank you everyone for that awesome and wealthy suggestions and introspections that you gave in the chat to the question that Timileyin asked. I think speaking to you, I don't even know what to say anymore. I think this is like a platform for people that knows what's going on in the education sector already. But I'm still going to go forward and share some of my experiences. I'm sure experiences, like they say, they're the best teachers, and there is always something new to learn from this. I will not be presenting any slides. That's just a disclaimer. I have some bullets in my notes here that I want to share with us as to the topic, how can education reform help shape a brighter future for Africa? I'm going to be using Nigeria as a point of contact, of course, because yes, I've not been to many African countries, unlike Esther that, she's really toured Africa, either virtually or in person. I've only been to maybe 2 African countries. So I don't really, know what's obtainable in other education landscape of course, what we see, what we learn, what we research and stuff. So please come along with me. I put on my socials yesterday. I said I saw something that happened in Abuja, and 75 children were, reprimanded. Is it reprimanded now, or they were charged to court? They've been there for more than 90 days. I mean, these are children of 12 to 15, thereabout, who are supposed to be in school, but they are not there. And today in Nigeria, we have over 20.6 million children that are currently out of school. On the African perspective, however, it's even more than that. The numbers are even like they are really 98 million African children between age of 6 and 18 remain out of school primarily due to poverty, conflict, and lack of resources, from UNESCO statistics. But I'm not ready to even go into all of that now. So I'm going to just take it from what is systems. So if we talk about rebuilding, a formidable education systems in terms of education reform, what are we talking about? So I have a background in biology. I'm going to be giving us a bit of introspection, as many people that would follow me, right? So there's something in biology that I love to use this analogy a lot because it explains a lot in what we're talking about, and it's going to do a lot of justice to the topic as we go on. So there's something we call organization of life in biology. Anybody that loved their biology teacher or just the biology as a subject would get acclimatized with what I'm saying. So the organization of life has 4 components primarily, and the 4 of them, one leads to the other, right? Who can tell me what the organization of life is? Biology students, you can just drop it in the chat. I'm a teacher, by the way, so I always like this back and forth of carrying everyone along, and I really understand that people at the back end can also hear me. I mean, 2-factor authentication, right? So the organization of life, who can give us, who is the scholar that is going to tell us what that is? If you're so close to your biology, just use the chat. Organization of life. What are the 4 components of that in biology? I think that's year one biology. Yeah. So anyone wants to help us with that? I'm not seeing anything in the chat box. Should I just bell the cat? Esther is smiling. She wants me to bell the cat. Okay, I'm just going to bell the cat. So, and I don't want anyone to say, "Oh, I know it," when I say it, right? So the first one is cell, right? CELL. And as we all know, maybe we don't all know, but then I'm going to define it in a bit because it's like the foundation to everything I want to say today. So cell is a basic unit of life, as simple as that. Everything called life, the human body, the human physiology, the human anatomy stems from cell because it's made up of the simplest unit of life. That's what makes up the cell. And then from cell, we have the tissue, which in turn, tissue, if you want to define tissue simply means the aggregation of 2 or more similar cells. So what I'm saying in essence is you can't just have 2 disjointed cells to make a tissue. They have to be similar cells. Okay. So after tissue, we have organs. So what are organs? Organs are, of course, aggregation of 2 or more similar tissues as well to make an organ. Don't forget that inside a tissue there are cells, and then inside of organs there are tissues, and then that makes a system. So systems, like you would have imagined already, is the aggregation of 2 or more similar organs. However, a system is going to malfunction if one of the organs is not working. So the education system is not independent of other systems. In fact, it works in line with other systems. The governance system, the financial system, the health system, the economic system of any nation. And as we have here, our thematic concern is Africa. Now, like I said when I started, I'm going to be using Nigeria as a point of contact, right? the education system does not just stand on its own. And like for someone who has worked in almost 4, 5 different um, different places in the education sector in Nigeria, as well as INGOs across Africa, and in affiliation with a lot of other organizations in the world in the education sector, from private organizations to INGOs to education intervention to education management, and then to state government partnerships. I can tell you for free that there is nothing the education system can do outside of the government that be in that particular territory, in that particular country. So why am I saying this? Why am I giving us this perspective to how we can have a great education reform? Is to tell you that education is pathetic, but it's true that most times we are vulnerable to other systems that are in play that controls the narrative of what education is in that particular country. So I'm going to be using Nigeria as a point of contact, right? And then go to what is the reality on ground, right? So permit me to give us a bit of context. I want to make us angry. I want you to be very angry at what's going on. And then I believe that when we put that passion in perspective, it gives us a bit of understanding into what we need to do, where we need to channel our energy, and then how we need to go about these reforms that we're talking about for a brighter future for Africa. I don't believe people are not doing enough work. I just believe we're doing disjointed work. And it's going to take us a long time to get to a consensus if we all keep doing work in different directions. So this kind of gathering is very, very important for us to attenuate and bring together what we need to be doing, combine synergy to face and achieve a common goal, right? So on that note, I want to expose to us some of the things that are happening on the ground as what's going on on the African continent. Then I'm going to come back to Nigeria in a bit. So I said the other time, I want to talk about the context and the challenges of education reform in Africa. So currently we have 98 million African children between the age of 6 and 18 that are currently out of school. That's pathetic. And I want you to be angry about that because there's so much that we can do together. And only 20% of African children meet the proficiency level in numeracy and literacy, only 20%. What happened to the rest of the 80%, right? Like Esther said the other time, Africa, the young people in Africa cover 70% of the whole population, which means that I want you to visualize what the future is going to be like if only 20% can even read and write and do simple math at the end of basic education. We are building a chaotic space in the name of a continent if this continues. And like I said, it's very important that we reimagine the kind of education that we want, building reforms that works. I'm so glad that I have the opportunity to be talking about this because I said I want to ask a lot of questions, and I'm still going to get to the place where I get to ask us questions before we get a chance to ask me questions, if there's going to be a time like that, right? But I want us to deeply connect to the problem so that we can offer, viable solutions. Apart from that, we have the World Economic Forum estimate that over 65% of children entering primary school today will work in jobs that don't currently exist, right? And that's a fact. It's possible that in the next decade, in the next 2 decades, even us that we're talking here will have to be preparing for a job that we don't know exists yet, right? Like in the past 10 years, I don't think there's something like social media manager. And now we have such jobs today. So what are we doing to prepare the African in terms of formal education? Of course, there are different types of education. Like we are all learned colleagues here. We have formal education, we have disruptive education, we have skills education, we have a lot of education, intervention education, to bridge different narratives for different contexts. But then these jobs that we are talking about, is Africa really ready to prepare the youth, the population of the African youth population for what's coming at us? Then we start talking about equity and quality. I mean, that's a different ballgame on its own in terms of education for Africa. And I work mostly I don't know. Sometimes you're in New York, right? Sometimes you're in remote. And I think that's one of the things that make the work interesting. So that gives me some sort of, insight and a really rich and wealthy compendium of information about what education is in the grassroots. I tell you for free, the education that has been obtained in grassroots, they are not of quality. They're not even equitable. Not even all of these children or youth have access to this education. Why? Not because they don't want to go to school, but because the economic stagnation has kind of marginalized them to the place where they can't even afford to feed, let alone go to school. So these are the realities that we grapple with. And these are the reasons why, the out-of-school indexes of Africa in Nigeria keep skyrocketing and keep going on the rise. And I'm going to come back to why and what we can do. So we have quite some, personally, I think it's not fair to talk about what's not working and then not talk about what's working. So I think the eastern part of Africa is really doing a lot of work when it comes to education reform. And I'm really proud that they're at the forefront of, bringing the education that works on the African continent. And I want to use that as a point of contact. I'll talk about Rwanda. I saw one of the education reforms that really talked to skills education, that each student, before they graduate school or college, they get to learn about a skill. I know Kenya is doing something like that as well. I've connected with a very big non-profit in Uganda doing the same thing as well. Very, very robust program and really, really impactful. And I think these are the things that we need to be pushing now on the African continent at a big scale, right? But we're still going to come back to that. So I know my time is almost running out, but I just want to set the pace to what are the problems, right? What are we grappling with? And then I want to talk briefly on the teacher gap in terms of human infrastructures. I wanted to know that there's an additional 70 million teachers needed by 2030 to meet the educational demand of Africa. And that's a number that we are never going to meet with the type of budgeting that our governments are doing. I'm talking about budgets. In Nigeria, in 2023, we UNESCO and UNICEF, they said statutorily that education budget should be nothing less than 20% of the total annual budget for the country, for any country for that matter. That means if you're going to do less than that, if you're going to do, you can't do less than that. You can only do more than that. But that's not true. Because in Nigeria last year, in 2023, we only dedicated 8.3 of our annual budget to education. And I said something the last time. If you look at this number, higher education takes a larger percentage because even to buy fuel for them in a day might take almost all of the budget, right? So that leaves us with a huge gap in terms of basic education that is meant to be free, by the way, in terms of higher education, that is meant to be of, quality and equitable and accessible, right? So we have a lot of problems. And this year, by the way, Nigeria allocated 6% of the budget to education. Now, there's a question of accountability of whether even that 6% was spent the way they're supposed to be spent, or they were channeled to another route. Now, you start seeing how the problems, how they manifest. They don't just come out of the blue. The numbers don't just, come staring at us at the face. There are things that, poor leadership and bad governance, like I said, systems have pushed the education system of the African continent too. And if we don't start looking at disruptive ways to solve it, then we're going to be in a fix, and then the future might just be gloomy for the African youth. So I'm going to talk about building systems. What should we do? I strongly believe that there are 3 things that we must do to shape a brighter future for Africa. And the first thing is policy. And when I say policy, I'm not just talking about some people staying in the legislative arm of the government telling us what should be done. I'm talking about policy like, yes, this is what the statutory requirement for education is. We are not going below this, and we are standing by it. And there is disbursement of funds for all of these things to happen. That's one. Number two, I'm talking about policy enactment. We're not just saying we have these things on paper. We're talking about you are enacting it. You're putting it in the hands of people that are capable to carry these policies out. And number three, I'm talking about policy implementation. Now, we're not just talking about having this policy written on like the Ten Commandments and say, oh, you have to read it to the people. No, we're saying they must be implemented. There must be people that would follow up to the letters that these things are being done, that these things are being carried out. And that's a larger percentage, because a larger solution to the problem of education reform on the African continent will be solved on the policy level. You can imagine what Gidi to School alone can do, what primary six alone can do, right? But then if the government of each countries, of each nationals, stand up to do education reform that works and implement them and follow them up to the letters, there is actually going to be traction, and we're going to cover much ground. Number two, I think we need to start looking at disruptive education, where we don't have to. It's ironic, right? And it's an antithesis, but I'm going to say it anyway. And which is where we don't have to rely on the government, because when they are irresponsible, then there are a lot of things at stake. Then people need to take laws into their own hands, and I don't mean doing something illegal. I mean, everybody in our individual capacities, NGOs, INGOs, entities must start looking at solutions to solve the problem in their context. And I'm saying contextual solutions because the problem in Nigeria is different from the problem in Congo. It's different from the problems in Sudan. The context varies. So we need to start looking at context-specific solutions in terms of disruptive education innovations. And the third thing that I'm going to talk about as a big solution to having a brighter future for Africa in terms of education reform is leadership. And I say leadership because it sounds cliche. Like when you hear the word leadership, they say, oh yeah, we are all leaders. Well, it's not true. It's not true, because we've built people to see leadership as a construct of something that they can get. And so if it's not giving me anything, then I don't have to dedicate my time to that. So if we want to bring education reform, we have to start raising leaders. We have to start raising individuals and trust individuals in position of leadership to solve problems, to bring solutions, to bring initiatives, right? I put in my notes here, I said, we need to, a fragment of responsible leaders. I think what Africa lacks is accountable and responsible leaders. So if we start looking at, oh yes, and that's why I'm so glad for what Primacy Initiative is doing in terms of mentorship. We also have something similar to that in Gidi to School, where we talk about young people as a future, and then we're not trying to marginalize them. We put them in the forefront of the movement to bring the systemic changes. So when you raise leaders, when we start to raise leaders, people that are accountable, people that, they know that a lot is at stake in terms of leadership and development, in terms of raising leaders to raise leaders. Then we plant them strategically in places and positions where they can move these policies, where they can bring these changes. Then you start saying, yes, we are almost like 40-something on this call. Imagine what 40-something of us can do if we're put in position to bring educational reform that works, because we actually have been to places where these reforms do not work. So sometimes an oversight in leadership, and because people are not equipped, the infrastructural development in terms of human resources, that gap is also a huge problem in terms of African development and educational reform. So we need for each and every entity that is dedicated to building human infrastructure, it's a big part of reforming the education for the African continent. And then it comes back to, and I'll tell you how that works. In terms of, like, for instance, in Nigeria, there's something called school as scam. We say school is a scam, right? So if you have leaders, you have people in strategic places, and they start telling you, oh yes, school is not scam, but this is how you can connect education to entrepreneurship. This is how you can connect education to financial independence. This is how you can connect education to solving problems. This is how you can connect education to bringing systemic changes. Then we see that there is in silos, we start having solutions, and then everything come back together and form a whole. I'm not sure what 2030 is going to look like, but if we look at these things that I've talked about in terms of policy, number one, in terms of disruptive education innovations, and in terms of leadership, raising leaders and bringing people together that are really ready and passionate to bring systemic changes, that are selfless in terms of good governance, in terms of good leadership, in terms of doing the work, in terms of leading in front, in terms of serving in front, then we are ready to have an educational reform that is shaping a brighter future for the African continent. In addition, before I drop the mic, because I think I'm reading Timile's gesture that I've exhausted my time. And we need to start connecting our young people in school to be entrepreneurial, to have entrepreneurial mindset. If you have something that pays your bill as a student, then you are out of the poverty landscape, and then you have the ability to speak truth to power. Many people will not be able to speak truth to power because when they get home, they don't even have what to eat. So it's easy for politicians to weaponize a child somewhere when he doesn't have what to eat. But then when they are sorted financially, there's this kind of confidence that you have that I can speak my truth to power. And I think financial independence is also a place to bring about systemic changes in terms of leadership for the African continent. Thank you so very much for having me. And I'll just go on mute now.
Thank you very much, Tsululua, for that powerful keynote. Your insights on educational reforms are truly thought-provoking and have set the stage for our discussion today. We're going to be coming back to a Q&A section for what you've discussed with us now. But right now, looking at our time, we want to move to our first panel discussion. And speaking of the 21st century, our education system is rapidly evolving to keep pace with technological advancements and societal changes. Even recruitment strategies are changing to align with the skills and competency needed in today's world. We are now going to hear from an educator and an HR strategist who will share their insights on these evolving trends. They will delve into the pressing issue our education system faces and propose innovative ways to address these challenges. Please join me in welcoming Imalin Date. I'm so sorry if I didn't pronounce that right. Imalin is a public speaker, brand influencer, HR strategist, leadership and personal development coach, German African startup consultant, as well as an event consultant. As an HR strategist with up to 13 years of human resource general practice, she has had experience with several industries, including aviation, oil and gas, academia, media, wellness, fashion, medical laboratories, supply chain, and manufacturing. She's the founder and CEO of ICS Africa Limited, Impact Concept and Solutions Africa, a budding pan-African company that provides management consulting, personal and professional development, marketing and communications, as well as corporate events engineering and management services. Imalin has been honored as one of Ghana's 100 most influential women in 2017, amongst many other awards. She has also been further listed among the ELOY Foundation and African Women CEOs Network, 50 people who embody resilience and leadership and advocate for women's empowerment and inclusion in Africa in 2024. We also have with us here Elvis Mshimba, a dynamic leader, the founder and chief executive officer of Umoja Sports Foundation, dedicated to empowering marginalized youth in the Democratic Republic of Congo through sports and education. As an internationally accredited coach in sports for development, Elvis leverages the transformative power of play to tackle social issues and cultivate leadership skills, particularly among girls. He trained thousands of teachers, coaches, and community leaders across the Democratic Republic of Congo, Zambia, South Africa, Zimbabwe, Zanzibar, Uganda, and recently Nigeria. After completing the Mandela Washington Fellowship, Elvis joined the Asoka community as a fellow and became a member of Catalyst 2030, further enhancing his commitment to social innovation and sustainable development. Through his work, he inspires further leaders to drive positive change, fostering a brighter future for their community. Please let's welcome Imalin and Elvis with a virtual applause.
Thank you very much for having us.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Good day to everyone.
You're welcome. I'm sorry, I just realized my video is not showing. Don't know why. Please, can you please hold on a bit for me? To kick off our discussion, I would like to turn to Imalin. I'm sorry, please, am I pronouncing that right?
Yes, I'm Emmeline.
Emmeline, so sorry.
Yes.
Emmeline, as one of the critical issues in Africa education is the skill gap. What practical step can be taken to align educational curricula with the skills required by employers? And how can HR professionals contribute to this alignment?
Sorry, your line was breaking a bit from the beginning. Could you start again?
Okay, I said one of the critical issues in African education system is the skill gap. What practical steps can be taken to align educational curricula with the skills required by employers? And how can HR professionals contribute to this alignment?
Awesome question. When it comes to the educational system or the development of workforce in any country, the government plays a critical role in ensuring that this happens. So first of all, you have to start from the level of policy. You have to start from the policy level first, because practically when we are looking at developing the nation, when it comes to the economic sector, the employment sector actually makes or has a maximum impact on the economic growth of any country. So the government has to come in. After the government, then we have other key stakeholders, including the HR institutions, or what we call the labor sector of the economy. Obviously, that represents government, right? And then we have the private sector. All of these people have to come together and develop a framework that will take Africa forward. Okay. In Ghana, we have the Ministry of Employment, we have the Labor Commission, and then we have the Private Association of Employers. All of these people, and then we also have the mother body of human resources, which is the Chartered Institute of Human Resource Management. All of these people include, and so replicating it across countries, should come together and look at the future of the countries and say, what is going to work for us? Our problem in Africa is that our curriculum is too westernized. Not as a problem, but it is not relevant to us here. On the flip side, most of the employment or jobs we get are always determined by the people of the West, because fine, it's a global village. However, they seem to have more technical know-how, more resources, and because of that, they seem to dictate our educational system. Now, my brother who just finished speaking said something. He spoke about how we need to, create a certain mindset in our students, entrepreneurial mindset. And he's speaking about innovation. He's speaking about looking at how we make Africa a manufacturing company and country. If you're unable to position the minds of our students as people who can innovate and create, we will continue to import. We will continue to lean on education of the West, because whatever you import, you need to lean on their knowledge, their concepts, their creative frameworks to be able to adopt and apply. But if in Africa here, we're able to look at what works for us. Fine, we can take a bit from here, a bit from there, but what is going to be unique for us in our country? That conversation has to begin. The moment the conversation begins, the government should then ensure that every stakeholder in education will plug into it. And however it is, whatever it is we need to do to make sure that the roadmap to strengthen the educational sector, including skills development, mitigating skill gaps, everybody plugs into it. I am an HR professional, And more often than not, I play in the training space, I play in the recruitment space. So I know exactly what happens in the employment sector. So what I tell my clients to do is this: as we wait for the government to wake up, what we can do is to ensure that you as a client, you own a company, you're an employer, empower your HR team, empower your managers to create a certain graduate program that when you recruit, you're able to train people to suit your company's profile, to suit the strategic roadmap of your company, give them the necessary skills that they need to upgrade. As we speak, in Ghana, the University of Ghana has partnered with Toyota. So the mechanical engineers, they are being trained because Toyota wants to ensure that they keep having a pool of talent according to their strategic framework. Imagine if every African company had their own indigenous strategic framework to run their own businesses and partner with the schools. That would actually help the value of our curriculum. If you wait for the government, you're going to wait forever. But I believe that private sector stakeholders can make a difference by instituting frameworks that will help our young people in school come out of the university and be ready for the world of work in Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that insight, Emmeline. Elvis, to you, as an educator and change maker, what do you see is the most significant challenges facing African education systems today? And how do these challenges impact students and teachers on a daily basis?
Thank you so much for your question. As an educator and change maker, the challenges facing African education systems are both profound and they need some of the most significant issues. So one of them is access and equity. Many students, especially in rural areas, I'm talking about the Democratic Republic of Congo, as well as some of the countries that I've visited, still face barriers to accessing quality education. Infrastructure is often lacking, with schools in remote regions being under-resourced. And this disparity leads to a significant gap in educational opportunities, affecting not just students, but also the communities they belong to. For teachers, this can mean overwhelming class sizes and inadequate teaching materials, making it hard to deliver effective instruction. I give one of the examples from my country, where a few years ago, the government decided and stated that primary studies are free of charge. And then they didn't preview to build extra schools. They didn't preview to add more and more classrooms. So we have classrooms whose capacity is to welcome 30 to 35 students. But when they said education is free, classes were overwhelmed with over 75 students in a room that has the capacity to welcome only 35. So this is one of the issue, access. The second issue is the quality of education. Even where school exists, the quality of education can vary dramatically. Many educators, many teachers lack training and support, which impacts their ability to teach effectively. Without ongoing professional development, teachers may struggle to engage students, or they may face issues to incorporate new teaching methodologies. And this underperformance can result in high dropout rates and low literacy, but also perpetuating cycles of poverty. The next issue is the curriculum relevance. I would like to talk about this point as an African. The curricula in many of the local economy often fits the local reality. Students graduate without the skills necessary for employment, leaving them ill-prepared for the workforce. And this disconnect not only frustrates students, but also diminishes teachers' motivation when they see the students struggle to find meaningful opportunities after the graduation. Let me give an example. I know that Nigeria is a different country because Nigeria is like one of the most African entrepreneurial countries, comparing to other countries. In most countries, the curriculum is not adapted. We are still using the curriculum that colonizers left, even though we try to bring some updates in, but this is not sufficient. What we are teaching people and what we currently live are two different worlds. So the curricula is not really adapted. It's something that our politics should definitely see and update. I appreciate it very much. Isaac talking about policy, and even Emmeline. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing bad your name. Excuse me. You're
Yeah,
talking
you got
about.
it right. Got it right, Elvis.
Thank you so much. You are talking about the policy. I think we as African, especially African youths, should start understanding where we need to update our curricula and then write policies that can be brought to life, policies that we can
Absolutely.
implement.
Absolutely.
Yes, that we can
Absolutely.
implement easily and that can meet needs today. Youths, for example, need to know how they can start their business. But if you see in most African countries, we are teaching people to be hired. We teach people to work as secretaries. We don't give them the taste of starting social enterprises. And without this, we can't accelerate the positive change. The last issue is the social emotional challenge. Many students face social emotional challenges, including trauma from conflict, poverty, and family instability. These issues can hinder their ability to concentrate and engage in learning. Teachers too may experience burnout and stress as they try to support students who are dealing with such heavy burdens. These are the main issues that I have identified as an educator, and this has a very significant impact on both students and teachers. These challenges can create a cycle of disadvantage. Students who do not receive a quality education often struggle to find employment, which can lead to continued poverty and instability. I think as youths, as African, addressing these challenges requires a collaborative effort from governments, NGOs, and communities. We need to invest in infrastructure to train and provide resources to create an equitable and effective education system. And this collaboration should be expanded across countries. And I greet very much this initiative of bringing us together, as this becomes an opportunity for us to connect and learn from each other. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those thought-provoking responses. Before I jump into the final question, I just wanted to remind everyone engaging with us right now that you can bring in your questions to the Q&A in the chat box. Shigi is going to populate them, and we are going to be asking our panel's questions very soon. Now, I would like to pose this for both Emmeline and Elvis. What metrics or indicators do you believe are the most important in measuring the success of educational initiative? And how can we ensure that these metrics are effectively tracked and reported?
Okay, I guess you want me to go first.
Yes, please.
Okay, I think I will do the honors but I think Elvis will be because of his background education. But I mean, from the HR point of view, what we're expecting from educational professionals that would be working on certain initiatives to help us who are recruiters. I will speak from that angle, then Elvis can speak from the educational professionals angle, if that is okay.
Yes, that's
and we probably may say the same thing, but the focus may be a bit different. I will speak about, first of all, I will speak about the quality of the students that are graduating. So usually when I'm speaking at certain career events, people want to know what employers want. Okay? It's very important that educational professionals know what the world of work is expecting and design the curriculum in that light. Okay? We are not looking for students who are coming, who have gone to chew, pour, and pass, like the Ghanaians say. you read in Nigeria, you say you cram. You cram and then you just download. It doesn't work. The educational system should be more practical than theoretical. Thank God for the internship program, but I would even be bold enough to say internships should even be done every year, so that by the time they are done with 4 years, they've had 4 years of experience. Within 4 years, they've had about almost 6 months of experience when it comes to industrial experience, because no other place can give you an experience than the world of work. 2, I would also say that I will speak on the quality of lecturers or teachers. More often than not, you have teachers or lecturers who don't have an idea of the practical sense of the world of work. More often than not, they are just, they've studied, they've read, and they're coming for. We don't even have a research method of even, what's it called? Or a way of, now we in an entrepreneurship, we have what we call the science of entrepreneurship. People have gone into experimenting what really entrepreneurship is about. Like the way you go into science, you do experiment for chemistry, biology. We have people who have experimented entrepreneurship. When it comes to educational sector, our teachers are not in that, especially in Africa. No, the Gen Zs and the Gen Alphas, they can't teach them, because all that they are learning is what they have known from behind. We need to upgrade the quality of education for our lecturers, or let me say, our educational professionals, whether you're a teacher in secondary school or in the university. It's very important that they are more equipped to teach. Okay, I appreciate lecturers who are currently even working, in any organization, because they normally will come and give you practical examples in the class, as compared to the one who has gotten a PhD and has never worked anywhere but the school. It doesn't work for us. I think that also we need to see a lot of innovation and creativity in the system. In Ghana, we have a few schools that are really doing so well at that. Ashesi University is number 1. University of Professional Studies in Ghana is number 2. University of Ghana, and to mention a few, Valley View University as well. These schools, and then we have Central University. These schools have gone beyond just giving you knowledge information to practical information, to inviting stakeholders from the organization to come and give talks and give some lectures to their students, and giving them the opportunity to even pitch business ideas. We start teaching them how to pitch for businesses. Entrepreneurship teaching should not just be the blackboard, but let them bring about ideas, put them in groups, teach them how to even form companies from the classroom, and give them that opportunity to do presentations to people that will teach them back how to, approach it wherever they have errors or whatever. These are the things we are looking out for. We are also looking out for equity and inclusion. It's very important that, schools have an open mind to the kind of students that they have. Okay, some students are disabled or specially abled. Some students don't read normally the way everybody. You don't put everybody as a day reader. Some people are night readers, and even with the world of work, there are people who work better in the night, and there are people who work better in the day. So with recruitment, we are even factoring productivity and hours. What is the most effective time of a worker? You need to let the students know that it is okay to be a night person or a day person. Having to adjust the educational system to accommodate all of this is very important. Finally, I will say, please encourage your students to fail. Students should be encouraged to fail and learn. If they don't do that, they would be deceived, because the real world of business is all about failure and learning to succeed. But we put it in the mind of the students that you can be first class, you must always be in second class upper. Nothing wrong with that. But when I graduated with a first class in school, I didn't graduate from reading my books. I graduated from having experience in the world of work. I had working experience before I got into university. While I was in the university, I was still having working experience. By the time I graduated, I have never applied for a job in my life before. Right, even now, and I am self-employed. I run my own company, but all the years I'd working for people, I had never applied jobs. Every time I was referral because they saw the quality of what I am. Teach students public speaking. Teach students about confidence. Teach them about emotional intelligence. Teach them about agility, about being resourceful, about thinking big, about managing failure, about having, a healthy mental, health, mental health and solid well-being. Teach them to live healthy, eat healthy, have solid relationships. Teach them about networking. These are the metrics we are looking, the quality of the students, the quality of the teachers, the quality of the curriculum. These are the things that we are looking out for. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emmeline. Elvis.
Thank you. Emmeline has said almost everything, and I thank her so much for that. I think measuring the success of educational initiatives requires different approaches focusing on both the qualitative and quantitative metrics. And here are some of the most important indicators and suggestions for effective tracking and reporting. The first is the student achievement. Standardized test scores are fundamental indicators of academic performance. These metrics provide objective data to assess how well students are learning and progressing. Without this, it is very difficult to give an accurate appreciation. The second is the student engagement. Attendance rates and participation in extracurricular activities are vital. High attendance often reflects students' interest and engagement, which are critical for a successful educational experience. The third indicator is the social and emotional learning. We've talked about it in our first question. We should also consider social and emotional learning metrics, such as surveys that measures students' social and emotional skills. Additionally, tracking behavioral incidents can help teachers or the school understand the school climate. And we have the teacher effectiveness. This part is very important. Metrics such as professional development, participation, and classroom observations can shed light on teaching quality. These indicators help us evaluate how well educators are equipped to support student learning. And Isaac talked about leadership. He mentioned something that I really appreciate. He said, what we need today for African youth is leaders who are accountable, leaders who can be responsible, leaders who can identify problems of their community and how to solve it. And, when we talk about leadership, I would like to add to when we talk about teachers' effectiveness, that it is very important to focus on adaptive leadership. Adaptive leadership helps the teacher understand what problem we can solve technically. I mean, we have a problem, the problem occurs today with students, and then we solve it today, and the problem is ended. But also teachers should be equipped with knowledge that help them understand that this problem, if we solve it technically today, then the problem will arise again tomorrow, and again and again. And I think if some people in this meeting are education professionals, they are teachers, or they work in school, they can easily identify some of the most recurring problems with students. The problems that can occur today, we try to solve it, and then they come up again, and we solve it, and then they appear again. So it is very important that teachers are updated with these adaptive leadership skills, but also they can be well trained to understand the problem behind the problem. I mean, there is a problem that you can see, but then we don't understand where this problem comes from. So if we go quickly to solve it, then we don't solve it at its roots. It is difficult. The other indicator is the parental and community engagement. Parent satisfaction surveys and volunteer participation rates can provide insights into community involvement and support for the schools, which are crucial for a thriving educational environment. Lastly, I'll talk about post-secondary outcomes. For secondary programs, tracking college enrollment and job placement rates can indicate the long-term success of our initiatives. How many students, how many schools in our areas that have produced 100 graduates, but how many schools can do a follow-up 1 year later to know how their students are doing, how the students have found jobs, how are they doing in their jobs? Is there any feedback that they can get back from the enterprises they work with, the services, so that they can improve the curriculum? I don't think that our schools do it, but I think it's something that we can consider, that we can keep track of our students, even if they graduate today, but we can always maintain that contact with students, asking them to know how they are doing, what are the issues they have, and so on. So this is, for me, very important. And it is also important that we have the data management system in every school. Without this, then it is very difficult to give accurate appreciation. We need to have the monitoring and evaluation system. I know that there is one that is built by our government, but it needs to be, how can I say, it needs to be, they need to train teachers, they need to train everyone involved in education to understand it and see how they can contribute to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, our panelists, for that amazing answer to the question. And now is the time for the Q&A. I'll just be taking one question since our time is fast spent, because our panels have taken their time to answer their questions. And this question, Itunoluwa Bamdele asked, she said, we'd like to ask Emmeline, what specific skills do you think are the most crucial for youth to be employable and thriving in the industry? Just want to glean much from you as to insights into what to incorporate in our design thinking for innovations.
Very intelligent and much needed question. First of all, we need students or young people who live and think outside the box. I know we've heard about thinking outside the box. No, you have to come out of that box to think, because remaining in that box will still limit you. Okay. Secondly, don't be afraid to fail. Explore. Be proud of failures, because a lot of us today are not what we are because, when you hear Timmy Lane reading our profiles, people are like, hey, but you don't know what happened. What I didn't put in that profile is what I went through to get there. And you must be able to embrace rejection even from your family, because your parents may not believe in you in the beginning. But whilst maintaining respect for your family, do not be afraid to be rejected because you believe in your dreams. You never know you are the savior of your home. So keep believing. Learn how to network, get mentored, get coached. If you are the smartest person amongst your friends, you are the most, in fact, unfortunate. You cannot be the smartest person in the room. No. Why are we saying this? You must always want to learn. You must be a learner. You will never arrive. You can never arrive. This life is a journey until your maker calls you. You will never arrive. So always be a learner. Confidence will take you far. Listen to me. Confidence will open doors for you that talent cannot. Trust me. You may have all the talent in the world, but without confidence, nobody will notice you. You may not have talent, but because you are confident, you can learn a skill and doors will open for you. There are people who are CEOs of companies today that started as gardeners. They started as handy workers. They were fixing the door handles. Today, they are CEOs of those companies. Okay? You need to learn the art of public speaking, effective communication, tech savviness. Please. AI is not here to replace your job. AI is here to enhance your job. So the person that will take your job away from you is the one who has AI skills, not the robots. Robots cannot function on their own. So you need to have AI skills. Please learn it. Okay, be tech savvy. Know how to use Zoom. You know how to use Microsoft Office, or if you're using a Mac, the Apple tools or whatever. Be very friendly with tech. All right. Be resourceful. Resourceful employees will go far. Don't be limited by your job description. Do beyond your job description. Whenever you are given an assignment, never say I don't know. Say I will find out. And that is why it's important to surround yourself with intelligent people at work, at home, wherever you find yourself. Agility, the ability to perform work faster and smarter. Okay? You need to learn to be agile. Read a lot, research a lot, your mind will be agile. The mind is set to take in what you put on the inside. The way you exercise your body, reading exercises your mind. All right? Expand your mind, expose yourself. Finally, learn the art of networking. Networking, they say, well, your network is your net worth. Okay? Build social capital. Invest in social capital. Do not always look for opportunities where they pay you a salary. If that opportunity is big and you will not be paid for it, enter. You will definitely find a way to be paid in some way, somehow. If you shadow people for growth, shadow influential people for growth, not for money. If you shadow, who is an important, let's say you are shadowing Dangote, for example, and you tell Dangote, you don't need money, all you need is just to be cleaning his shoes and carry his bag. Are you aware that when Dangote is entering his private jet, you are going inside with him? Do you have to buy the ticket? Do you have to get visa? No. And when people see you with Dangote, nobody knows you are cleaning his shoes, though. But I will classify you as an important person as well. And when I have an opportunity for an important person, guess who gets it? You. So never, never, never remove humility from your life. There is nothing like small work, unpopular work. Listen, my darling, if you are doing small work and people around you, influential people, do it. Cinderella became a princess at the end of the day. So please, have a mentality that is such that you don't want quick results. You're not impatient to learn. You are not someone that doesn't take correction. When people correct you, you don't like it. Please, criticism is healthy, especially when it is functional. Learn from your mistakes. Take feedback in good faith. Communicate problems when you see it at work. Don't keep quiet and be afraid. If I tell my boss, no. Tell your boss. Communicate with your boss on time. Bosses don't like it when there's a problem and you shut up about it. They want to know. Have a solution when you identify a problem and make a presentation to your boss.
What are we here for?
You are only recommending, you are only suggesting. It does not mean the fact that you made a suggestion shows that you are intelligent, shows that you are engaged. Whenever there's a job promotion, they will definitely promote you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Emily. That was a lot. Thank you very much for that, Emily. That was a lot, and I actually really learned a whole lot. And Elvis too dropped something in the chat box that I would like to share for those who didn't see it. He said, if you don't fail, you are not yet a great leader. Failure is part of a sustainable success, and failure is part. Much agree with that. Thank you very much. Please, everyone, let's tell our panelists thank you in the chat box. Let's appreciate them for their time and for the wealth of knowledge they are impacted into us today. And while we are at that, please can you I think Shigi has dropped our social media links in the chat box. Please kindly follow us for updates on the African Future Summit coming up next year and other opportunities and events that are going to be very, very impactful to you. Please, Shigi, can you drop those in the chat box for them? And now we'll be moving to our next panel session. Our next panel session, which says Education for All, Advocacy and Inclusion. There is an urgent need for education that is both inclusive and accessible to all children, regardless of their background and gender. By advocating for and implementing such education systems, we can ensure that every child has the opportunity to learn, grow, and thrive. This means not only recognizing and addressing the diverse needs of all students, but also ensuring that every child can access learning resources and educational opportunities. Our esteemed panel of today will delve into critical topics of education for all. Our esteemed panel of experts today will delve into the critical topic of education for all, advocacy and inclusion. They will share insights and strategies on how we can make education both accessible and inclusive, overcoming barriers faced by marginalized communities and working towards a future where education is truly within reach for all. With me here on this panel we have Nelson Waje. He's a South Sudanese tech and digital rights advocate with over 7 years of experience in ICT and digital rights advocacy. He led and executed projects in Kenya, Ethiopia, Sudan, South Sudan, Uganda, and Cameroon. He is the founder of Alela Technology, a company that provides government, enterprises, and not-for-profit organizations with technological solutions for process efficiency, human capital development, visibility, and digital storytelling. Nelson chairs the board of #Defy8Now South Sudan, an organization that works on creating a lasting peace by combating hate speech and incitement to violence. And also with me here again on this panel is James Otai. James Otai is a co-founder and director of business development and operations of a non-profit organization in Uganda, Reimagine Africa, working with rural young women and youth, preparing them to become self-made and thriving social entrepreneurs. Before devoting his full time to Reimagine Africa, James worked with organizations like Child Fund Uganda, Partners for Children Worldwide, Educate, Uganda and Bridge International Academy under different capacities. While there, he worked with vulnerable children and caregivers and supported every childhood education and basic education initiative, trained secondary school going youth to start and run enterprises while still at school, trained teachers on student-centered learning and mentorship, and conducted research for the provision of affordable pre-primary and primary education to low-income urban and rural Ugandans. He is a 2024 to 2026 Mountain Top Anglican Fellow and a 2024 Study UK Alumni Award Global Finalist, Social Action Award category, representing the Sub-Sahara Africa. And lastly, we have Vanessa Omide. She is from Kenya and serves as a community manager for the Sustainable Education and Leadership for Africa SELA Fellowship. In this role, she plays a pivotal part in growing and managing the community of fellows, ensuring smooth communication between mentors, facilitators, and fellows. She also moderates the Slack workspace to prevent miscommunication and make sure all fellows are fully supported. Vanessa's dedication to fostering an inclusive, well-coordinated environment is key to the fellowship's continued success. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Vanessa, Nelson, and James to the podium. Please, a virtual applause for them. Thank you, guys. Hi, Nelson. Hi, James. Hi, Vanessa.
Hello, Timlin.
Oh. Welcome.
Hi, Timlin.
Yeah, so I would like to start off the conversation with Nelson. Nelson, your work in digital advocacy has been groundbreaking. Can you share innovative strategies and successful tech-based initiatives that has improved access to inclusive education in conflict-affected regions like South Sudan? And also, please, we would like all our panelists to turn on their video. We want to see their faces.
Okay. Okay, thanks, everyone. It's such a delight being here. As the moderator has stated, my name is Nelson Kwaje. I am based in Juba, South Sudan. And my background is in technology and development, and I work on the intersection of tech, peace, and conflict resolution. When it comes to strategies that I use for inclusive education in areas of conflict, I had the experience of working in probably like 3 countries or designing programs in 3 countries that are experiencing conflict. First in Cameroon, I did some programs targeting the affected areas of the Anglophone-speaking Cameroon, fellowship programs for journalists. I've also done some work in Ethiopia at the height of the Tigrayan crisis, and I've been also doing work here in South Sudan. And whenever you talk about areas of conflict, most of the challenges, it differs across different African countries. But I can probably speak about South Sudan, and I can speak some of the work that I have seen being done. It's primarily on areas of using technology to accelerate education or giving people digital literacy. Like in South Sudan, we've been able to design a program called BUILD, which is Banat Initiative for Leadership and Digital Development. And basically, they are trying to accelerate the rate of digital literacy among women and girls, because research has shown that in areas in underdeveloped countries and also in developed countries, girls are less likely to access technology at an early age, or even at an advanced level, like in university or in high school. Because when you see in the home, if there is one laptop, usually who takes it? It's the boy. So ladies usually by design or through culture are excluded from this. So this program has been able to train like over 100 girls right now. They train them for 6 weeks on digital literacy, and then afterwards they give them a laptop, and then they become part of an alumni program. And this one laptop alone has a very huge impact, because these girls do not only use these laptops for doing the assignments, but they also become a nucleus, and they create a small hub also across their colleagues. So you find these girls, because usually we target them at the high school or first year of university, because that is the right time for them to actually use that. So you find as soon as they get into university, they have an email, they're able to send assignments, and they're able to utilize it even to help their other friends. And the program is usually targeted for people from underprivileged background. I usually call it that whenever we start the program, we do a reverse interview, as opposed to trying to access people with the most competence. We try to look people who actually would not get these opportunities elsewhere, because this is where the dollar can have a larger value. This is one of the programs. The other program is the program through the Forrest Whitaker Peace and Development Initiative. I think a lot of you know Forrest Whitaker from Black Panther, the chief priest in Black Panther. So Forrest Whitaker, he's an Hollywood actor, but he dedicated a lot of chunk of his time as the CEO of the Forrest Whitaker Peace and Development Initiative. And over the last 10 years, he's been engaging in areas of peace building and digital literacy in northern Uganda. I see my brother here from Uganda. In northern Uganda, in areas like Gulu and the rest. So they create these youth centers, and they empower them with digital literacy, social soft skills, and also peace and development. So they work with youth, and especially youth who are demobilized from conflict areas. They engage them in peace building, and also they then put them back into society through skills. Because I think a lot of the problems of conflict are actually also the problems of economics. So a lot of the times when youth are deprived from opportunities, they become a reservoir for conflict. They are basically like fuel or charcoal that is ready to be lit. So a lot of the times in areas of conflict, we encourage people to engage youth, both in useful skills and also in economic activities. A lot of the times people want to make issues of conflict as if they don't have any economic, as if they're not driven by economic and scarce resources. And I see this all across Africa. Whenever there is a scarcity of resources, it creates unemployment, it creates frustration, and it creates people get into petty crimes, people get into illegal activities, and also people become gun for hire or bandits or other names that they call it across the market. And I think if there is anything that I will emphasize is like we need to create economic opportunities. We need a bigger cake so that everyone can have their own slice. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Nelson, for that. Thank you so much for that. And James, as a prominent youth and women women advocate, what do you see as the most significant barriers to achieving inclusive education for all in Africa, particularly for marginalized communities? And what strategies do you believe are most effective in overcoming these barriers to ensure girls have equal opportunities in education?
Thank you so much, Timmy, for the questions. And I've been actually listening to the speakers, and it brings me on one thing, that Africa is one. These challenges are all over us, actually, where we are. So from introduction, my work has been basically, at least I've touched all in education institutions, from nursery, primary, secondary, up to the university level. And I've witnessed really the gap at different levels. So for me, when it comes to access for education for all, especially rural communities where we work, in Ugandan perspective, and some of the countries that I've visited, we still have a lot to do. We really still have a lot to do to get that equalness in terms of access of education. So some of the barriers that I've seen here in our country is that when you go to a very, very hard to reach community, first of all, you don't find ECD schools. So when you ask around why these institutions are not here, they will tell you either there are no entrepreneurs to do this, someone is not willing to invest, but also the other thing is that you realize that parents are not willing to pay for early childhood. So it resonates back to some of us growing up. We never thought about, me, I didn't go to nursery school. But right now, as we know, the Africa we want to shape and the future we want to shape, we all know that ECD is very important for a child's growth. When they are beyond that, all things we are talking about, creativity, the 21st century skills, may not be got by such a child. So when you come to girls, specifically that we have worked with, there are things, for me, I look at in three ways that affect a girl child. One, there are personal things, and then, of course, there is family, cultural, and then the institutional level. So as a girl child, you find that there are barriers that are beyond you. They are biological, if I can say. They're really biological. So you find a young girl, because they have not gone to pre-primary school, someone is in around 9 years and they're in primary 1. Primary 2, you know what happens to the ladies. Changes happen. You have big breasts, you're starting to menstruate. You start having self-doubt that I think I'm not in the right place. So in most cases, especially in up country or, in rural communities, such girls drop out. So you don't expect them to have the same feeling compared to children who were in school before. So it's like you're going to your first time in school and you find a shocker that you're the biggest. So that is a challenge that is really, really affecting girls, especially in rural communities. The other thing is that when you look at the cultural aspect of most of African cultures or communities that we come from, you realize that some parents think that a girl child is a source of income. They don't see a girl child as someone who is tomorrow going to change the community. So at the end of the day, when these girls are married off when they are still young, also the community where they come from, people the fellow youth and even grown-up men look at these girls not as girls who are supposed to be at school, but potential wives, potential girlfriends. So at the end of the day, a girl child is faced with a lot of problems left and right. So at the end of, when you come home, you realize that the parents are not able to provide because of the poverty rates that we have. The parents are forcing you to get married, or you're thinking, like, I'm tired, I can't do this. And there's this person who is trying to sort of lie to you that they can provide for you, they can buy you ABCD. At the end of the day, you drop out. So at the end of, you can't put that girl in a same space because they have limited access to information. When you go to school, they're not even informed about their bodies. So at the end of the day, they just live by chance, if I can say. So that has really created a geography that is not flat in terms of the girls who are a bit informed and they're in towns compared to those in the village. And then institutional factors. So Elvis and Emily and Isaac talked about this previously. So when you come to the institutions of most of the institutions in our countries, you realize that when you go to class, in Uganda we have what we call universal primary education, we have universal secondary education, so it's really free. But it comes with a cost. There are so many students in a class. So if you have no self-drive as a student, you're likely to step out of it. You don't have access to many of the things. There are things that our students just learn, but they have never seen them, even when they're in Uganda here. So at the end of the day, you can't compare when exam comes that they can perform like any other person in urban setting. And then the other thing is that I've witnessed the infrastructure really disadvantaging our girls, not only girls, students in rural communities. Right now, our students are doing national exams, but as we speak, some areas are inaccessible. Either there's a flood, there's a landslide. So students have to wait for exam for more extra 2 hours. I want us to just reflect that right now with us. You very well know that your friends in town have started exam and you're still waiting. What are the chances of passing, even when that papa arrives? So you're stressed. You're not able to actually pass on your own. So what I can say is that we still have a lot of work to do, especially in the rural communities. And as an organization, Imagine Her, we have tried, and other organizations here in Uganda that train 21st century skills to help these people in secondary schools to think about problem solving, critical thinking that we have talked about. So at the end of the day, if this girl, even with her body, could understand that this is nature, this is natural, I can't do anything about it, I have to live with it, and not only ends with her, but even others treating her with compassion, we would actually realize that we could have equitable access for both boys and girls here in Africa. The most important part is that you and me who is here today should not look at the things that are happening. When you look at the leaders, I want to share just one example of leaders here. We had a scenario in a community whereby this girl was impregnated, a 12-year-old, it's not 14, it's not, 12-year-old was impregnated by an 18-year-old boy. So, but the girl was from a very, very vulnerable family. They had no money. So the boy came from a bit well. So the parent had two options: either arrest the boy for defilement or negotiate. Unfortunately, they took the latter, and the leaders were involved in this. The local council leaders were involved in this kind of negotiation. So the parent was put on a wall that you either arrest this boy, and at the end of the day, you remain with your daughter and you take care of her and the child. We are not going to take care of the child, or you accept 1 million shillings. I don't know what that means. It's not too much money in dollars, but in Africa, in Uganda here, someone in the rural community can look at that as too much money. They're saying, okay, either we give you 1 million, we take your daughter, we take care of her with the child. And you know very well, a poor parent had to actually give out the daughter and accept the money. So all the things are very so common in African setting. So at the end of the day, I call upon you and me. At least we go to these rural communities. Let's call out such behaviors. Let's call out our leaders to ensure that they either report or they sensitize our people on how to handle such issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, James, for that. That was a lot to take in. Thank you so much. Vanessa, Vanessa, please, can you turn on your video? Let us see your face.
I have.
Oh, really? It's not showing
I have
here.
on another.
Oh, okay. What capacity building initiative does the Stella Fellowship offer to ensure inclusive educational opportunities for all participants? And what future initiative do you have planned to enhance the Stella Fellowship's role in educational advocacy and inclusion?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much, Timmy, for this opportunity. So I am the community manager for Stella, and Stella is a Sustainable Education and Leadership for Africa Fellowship. It is a novel approach where we do not really look at the qualifications, but we look at the passion of the person, and we mainly focus on the Sustainable Development Goals. And this year, we were focusing on environmental sustainability, and we have taken around 200 fellows. Out of these fellows, 10 fellows have been placed in 3 months internships, and of course it has an outreach component where we have the outreach to secondary schools, and we've reached out to 18 secondary schools through our very able fellows from in 7 countries, which are Nigeria, Senegal, Malawi, Sierra Leone, Madagascar, Uganda, Namibia, and we've impacted a total of 761 students across all these 7 countries, even as far as Kuwait. So this is a novel approach where we are looking at how do we reach out to as many young people as we can by the end of 2030. That is when the SDGs will reach their ultimatum, and now we'll start having to look at other approaches in order to get the world to be united. So, and we mostly focus on the grassroots areas. And we have targeted training programs, as I've said, on the SDGs. And we have multiple mentorship opportunities, be it from shadowing the mentors that will be in the program, or be it from the internship opportunities, or even coming into the organization, PYDI. And we look at so much about the passion of that person, about changing the current state of their community, and of course, Africa as a whole. And we have hands-on learning. We have people who have gotten a lot of digital skills. This year, people got a hint of how geographic systems are also done, and they also got to know how to do things like carbon accounting, which are very current themes and things that will hopefully make them better entrepreneurs, or even give them an upper hand in terms of employment. And also we have networking and career opportunities. You get to network with so many people from different countries. This year we had 30 countries featuring in the fellowship. So and some of them have also gone ahead and started their own projects, which are mostly social entrepreneurship projects, so that they can continue to make an impact through even after the fellowship is over. Some of the future plans are, we are planning to expand this into a more funded opportunity, because this year people had to really be passionate and use their own resources. So next year we're looking at having more resources for these young people, and also having even more than environmental sustainability, and have other programs running concurrently so that we can impact more Africans next year in 2025. And also we're looking at also expanding the outreach component of it, such that the outreach can reach out to more students, especially. It's quite interesting that the SDGs have, it's actually, let's say it's been half the years, around 7.5 years that the SDGs have been working, and we have a little bit of around 7.5 or 6 years left, yet there's still people who do not know about the SDGs. So we want to really get into that component and let people know about the SDGs, about how they're important, especially those who are from the grassroots and who are from rural regions. And we're also looking at digital learning platforms and expanding people's digital skills so that they have more relevancy in the market, and they can also learn that also, as Emma Beatty has said, that this AI are tools. They're not here to replace you. Actually, I was in a sitting where they said that no matter how much AI tries, it does not have the creativity that a human being has. It does not have the drive. It does not have the capabilities. What it does is just it replicates what you teach it to do. it's just a computer. So no one can be replaced by an AI at any point unless you do not learn how to use it. So we're also reaching out to our fellows and teaching them how to use this AI, and in a way that is enriching and not in a way that is destructive, such that you depend on it too much. And also we're looking at partnerships with the local organizations and also governments, such that we're able to transform the education system together, and such that we're not working against the governments, but we're working with them, civil society organizations. That is part of our work, to work with this government and help them in creating the Africa that we all want. Yes, thank you. I think I've answered the question.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Vanessa, for that. Thank you very much for that. And let me pose a general question to everyone. How do communities be more involved in advocating for supporting inclusive education, and what roles do parents and local leaders play in this process? Please, let's keep our answers brief because our time is fast spent already. I think I will start with Nelson first. How can the communities be more involved in advocating for and supporting inclusive education, and what role do parents and local leaders play in this process?
Yeah, I think I'll probably just speak from a point of view of South Sudan. I think one of our biggest hindrances here for education is harmful cultural practices, and also patriarchal roles, especially in communities where you find women and girls have less power. I mean, women in general have less power. Girls, by the virtue of their age, even have less power. So this means like we have communities where girls are not allowed to go for studies, or girls are overburdened with a lot of responsibilities from a very early age, from getting water to cooking to doing things for so many other people, in a manner that hinder them from accessing their rightful education. So I think one of the roles that such communities can do is to ensure that, to bring these chiefs and the elders so that they can be able to they can be able to be more lenient, and also be able to distribute power so that other people, girls and women, can be able to access education. And then we have like myriad issues, like from gender-based violence, early marriages. These are all problems that are actually community-based, and I think the role that communities and parents can play in such is to have progressive approaches. In South Sudan, we have Council of Chiefs who have now, people try to engage them. We also have areas where now there are female chiefs. Such kind of inclusivity also brings a different approach to accessing education. I'll stop here.
Thank you, Nelson. Thank you very much. James, please, let's have you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Sorry, I'm not going to turn on my video because of the network, so I'm going to be on video. So there's always a saying that it takes a village to raise a child. So when you look at the two categories of people who have talked about, imagine how we around July we took a study. We went back to our schools, asked teachers and pupils the challenges, and most of the challenges came back to parents. Parents are not able to provide for food for children in school, scholastic materials. That the same people marrying off the children. And now the only solution that we zeroed down to what we know best is social entrepreneurship. Now focusing on training the caregivers, training the parents on how to start and run their own businesses. For us, we believe that when a parent has income, when a parent has money, they will always prioritize educating all their children without necessarily saying, I'm taking a boy or a girl. It's only that when you're fixed, when you don't have money, that you will see options, including human beings, as a source of income. So that is what is very critical. Every parent should really struggle to find ways of earning money. It's always very difficult in the rural community, but also there are also opportunities there. So helping these parents to identify those opportunities, as well as sensitizing them to really value education is critical. Secondly, when it comes to leaders, just through our work, we realize that leaders are the ones, as I said earlier, are the ones who marry off these children. So we designed a program in a way that leaders are also included. Do they know reporting pathways when it comes to defilement? Do they know the rights of these children? And then most importantly, even them, they're also involved in this because it involves money. They are paid some money. So empowering them as well in terms of understanding that they need to have their own money, not to earn from children and let children be children, is the only way to enable them to advocate for the rights of especially a girl child in the rural community. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, James. Thank you for that. Thank you so much. Vanessa, please, let's have you.
Yes, I would like to echo what everyone has said. Going ahead, I think we have something that is called gender action learning systems, that we need to rethink gender roles and the space and the roles that a woman has, and also the space and the roles that a man has, such that we start from the family up, so that we have something where the roles that a man plays and a woman plays are not so different, that they're shared, such that the home has equal opportunities for both the lady and the gentleman in the home. For example, you can find that young women most of the time have something that we call unpaid care work, and that unfortunately even falls on sisters who have elder brothers or even younger brothers, which is something very interesting. So you'll find that the boy maybe has some work, goes to school, maybe has livestock, takes them to graze. After that, he's going to school, or if they have a zero grazing system, that boy just gives up the food and goes to school. Meanwhile, the lady has to wake up, she has to prepare the food, she has to make sure that her brother has his clothes ironed. Are we able to reduce the tasks or share out these tasks, or even hire help? But in some communities, I understand the economics of it don't really work. But are we able to share the duties around the household such that we can allow the female or the girl child to be able to dedicate some time to school? For example, many women, especially I'm in a rural setup at the moment, you can find that very early in the morning, as early as 5 o'clock, girls are already up, they've gone to get water, to of course do the household chores, to get the water for bathing. Are we able to get these resources closer to them, such as rainwater harvesting systems? Are we able to advocate for such systems to be installed in the home, such that this girl gets to go and get to for education? And also, maybe in most traditional aspects, you can find that the woman's voice is not really heard, because, as they've said, she's considered as an object who can be done with, can be left out, does not deserve to even inherit land, such that she has the resources to even sell and get more money back, or even she doesn't have the decision to make that she wants to go to school and step her foot. She's seen as a rude person. Are we able to destroy these gender norms that are there, that are harmful, and build up new gender systems that advocate for education for young girls? And in the long run, if the young girls are educated, then also the young men will also be educated, because an educated woman will always make sure that her children are educated, no matter the cost. So yeah, that is my approach. We really need to rethink our African systems and destroy the gender norms that we have currently. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that response, Vanessa. Thank you so much. And many thanks to our panelists, to Nelson, to James and Vanessa. But before I go into the Q&A session, I'm sure you guys have been hearing AFS 2025, AFS 2025, and wondering what is this thing they are talking about. Even my background serves AFS 2025. So I would like to welcome Majida to come and tell us what that is about. Majida, please, are you here?
So before she comes in to present what she has for AFS 2025, so I think I'll just give a quick background. So basically, what we are doing is there was the Summit of the Future that happened this year, and at PYDI, we are really invested in young people, the development of young Africans. And then, we are looking, and we're not just looking at solutions for now, we are looking at the future because, it's time we begin to think the future, right? And that's what we're doing. So we thought about it. Yes, there was the Summit of the Futures this year. There was the UNCSO conference, and there's been a whole lot of things said. But then, there is one major fact that Africa has the fastest growing youth population. And we are faced with, a twin challenge of youth unemployment and poverty. And it's high time that we begin to reimagine the future. It's high time that we begin to think of ways to get young people involved. So we decided, okay, we are going to have the African Future Summit in 2025, which is aimed at reimagining the future of Africa through youth engagement. So it's a physical convening that's going to happen in June, from 19th to 21st of June in Lagos, Nigeria. Please follow our social media handles. The venue will be unveiled soon, and the registration is going to be open soon. Follow our social media handles to stay updated. So we have a short something awesome from the content team for the African Future Summit, which will be unveiled now. So I'd like to invite Majida, who is the content creation team lead for the African Future Summit, for the unveiling. Thank you, Majida. You can have the floor.
Hi, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. I'm incredibly honored to be here today, sharing a space with such passionate and dynamic leaders committed to shaping Africa's future. We gather to celebrate African Youth, a day dedicated to amplifying the voices of the continent's young people, to honor our heritage and set a shared vision for the future we want to build together. My name is Majida Nuhu Ali, and I'm the content creator lead for AFS 2025. Today, I'm thrilled to present a video put together by our team, which is the content creation team for the Africa Future Summit. This video is a tribute to our shared dreams and determination. It's a call to reimagine Africa's future, a message of hope, resilience, and unity that speaks directly to the power of the youth. As you watch, you'll see young voices from across Africa, each with a unique story but a common goal: to build a prosperous, inclusive, and sustainable Africa. Through the lens of our culture, heritage, and diversity, the video captures the essence of our collective journey forward. We believe that the youth are not just the future, we are the present, the change makers, and the innovators. I hope this video inspires each of you as much as it inspired us to create it. Let's continue to uplift each other, collaborate, and build a continent we can all be proud of. Thank you.
A land rich with culture, history, and resilience. But more than that, Africa is the land of tomorrow. Its future that lies in the hands of its youth.
Africa's potential is limitless.
We are entrepreneurs, creating opportunities where none existed before.
We are scientists, finding answers to questions that will shape our future.
We are creatives, telling stories that redefines what it means to be African.
Our Africa is connected, prosperous, and peaceful. We are the architects of that future.
That was interesting to watch. Thank you very much, content creator team. We are looking
But more
forward
than
for the
that,
Africa
Africa
Future
is the
Summit
land of
next year,
tomorrow.
and we are
Its
excited
future
about it.
that lies in the hands of
Now
its
we are
people.
moving to the Q&A
We
segment,
stand on the shoulders
just
of
very
giants.
fast. Vanessa, please, if you are here, I have a question for you. How do you ensure an effective relationship between mentors, facilitators, and fellows?
First of all, mentors, facilitators, and fellows. First of all, during the session, we always have a Q&A session all the time, and we share the details of these mentors with the fellows, such that as a bonus of the fellowship, they get to even shadow them. They can follow them on spaces such as LinkedIn, and they can talk to them at any point. And some of them also join our Slack workspace that we have currently specifically for the fellowship, and they're able to converse with the fellows and exchange ideas with them, and also help out with some of the assignments that they're given, so that they're able to master the concepts that they have learned.
Thank you very much, Vanessa, for that. Thank you for your contribution, and thank you to everyone, all our panelists who had graced us with their presence here. And yeah, we've come to the end of today's webinar. And isn't it amazing, the prospects, the fortune Africa can actually get when we come together and build a resilient education. And as we've come to the end of our webinar, remember that this is just the beginning. There is so much more to come. And you can find all the details on our website. Shigi is going to be posting the link there on the chat box. To ensure you don't miss anything, make sure you are following us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube, and subscribing to our newsletters for further opportunities and updates. I'm looking forward to seeing how we all contribute to building resilient education systems in Africa. It's been a pleasure hosting this event. Thank you for joining us. See you very soon as we all work towards getting it right. Together, we can make a difference. Together, we can reimagine Africa. Have a wonderful day, everyone.